Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks around the world. Welcome to another episode of Hanging at Inti HQ, live at Inti Creates headquarters in beautiful Chiba, Japan. I am your host, Inti Creates producer and localization director, Matt Papa. My right is a fine gentleman. Good by the name of
Andrew Singleton here, localizer at Inti Creates. We're having a very nice spinny day.
Spinny day. Y'all like that? It's spinning. It's 25. It's red. It's awesome.
25. 25.
And that is right because
a lot of years.
Today, well, not today, a couple days ago, but
yeah.
Today we are celebrating Inti Creates' 25th anniversary. 25 years of Inti Creates.
A lot. That's a real whole bunch of years.
I mean, for an indie game studio, like to exist like this and continue doing, you know, constantly.
Oh yeah.
Like it's wild. Thank you all so much for the Inti birthday wishes.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. It's wild to be sitting here at this table talking to you guys about the fact that Inti Creates has been around for 25 years. Life does funny stuff like that, and sometimes gives you opportunities to do really cool things like that.
For sure.
So here we are, and so today it's going to be, you know, we're not doing a whole big gameplay thing. We're just here today to chat with you guys and to celebrate 25 years of Inti Creates. So there's three things I wanted to do today, in the spirit of things. The first of which is kind of talk about the history of Inti Creates, because I feel like if the more of the Inti's history you know, the more you can really truly appreciate what this company has gone through over the past 25 years.
Oh yeah.
And Aizu-san over there actually put a big post about this on social media a couple days ago. That was a very handy-dandy reference for yours truly to give you a lot of good information that I needed so I can put it in English and share it with all you fine folks today. So, Inti Creates was born on May 8th, 1996.
96.
That's what I'm saying. So we're a few days after the actual anniversary day. That was on a Saturday and during a holiday weekend. So we were unfortunately not here, but so we're here now. And but yeah, May 8th, 1996, Inti Creates was founded by 11 former Capcom staff who decided to break off together and form their very own company. And Inti Creates' first game, they worked, you know, for those first 2 years, and to finally put out their first game in 1998, the release of a little-known title called Speed Power Gunbike.
It's a real banger.
It is a real banger. It is a real banger. We
came out swinging. We
did this on stream one time. I played Gunbike on stream once, and it was an absolute it was an absolute joy to play with everybody. I always look back at that stream as some like fan community memes that still circulate in our chats to this very day were born on that stream. Two of them that I can think of off the top of my head: Rad Skater Dude Asimov and Rick Julman Private Eye.
Oh, was that stream? Wow.
I believe both of them were from that stream. I believe both were from the stream. We still see those to this day. I love you guys. You guys are cool. So, you know, Inti Creates, you know, produced a couple of games after that, but really the fate, I think, and the trajectory of the company really truly changed with the release of Mega Man Zero.
Yeah.
For the Game Boy Advance. That was the real true first big turning point for the company. I mean, that was the one I think most of you who may be around in our age group probably heard of first.
Oh yeah, and it was for me.
It was for me too. I mean, that was kind of Inti's. Not only was it their big break, but I mean that was Inti Creates' the first game that they ever developed that was released outside of Japan.
Yeah, right.
Because, you know, stuff like, you know, the early games, like stuff like Speed Power Gunbike, Love and Destroy, games like that, they were Japan only titles.
Right. Yeah.
And there were some others in there too that were also Japan only titles as well. So Mega Man Zero was really the first one to kind of cross the ocean. And I'll never forget, I got that game and I was sitting getting my hair cut that day, and there was like a really long wait, so I got like an hour to play it.
Yeah.
Like just sitting there in the chair. And I still remember to this day booting that game up for the first time and looking at the title screen like, what the hell is Inti Creates?
Yeah, you wouldn't expect to see that.
Because you see all the other, familiar startup sequences and other company names and stuff like that. But I'm like, who or what is Inti Creates?
Yeah.
I mean, as a high school kid, just Mega Man fan, how was I supposed to know, right? So I that really stuck out to me, and that really changed Inti Creates' fortunes, because apparently the company was for the first couple years was operating in the red.
Yeah.
As new companies tend to do, and from that point on, the trajectory of the company really just kind of did a very quick upward shift into growth, and the company's honestly been growing ever since. So then you have, and Inti Creates up until a certain point was a dev for hire studio. So you had we went on to do the Mega Man Zero games, the Mega Man ZX games, Mega Man 9 and 10, and a whole slew of other games too. That a lot of games that were like for other big companies. We've done work for like Bandai Namco and Sega and all these other big publishers that never got released outside of Japan. Yeah. And then things as the 2010s came along, things kind of started to shift a little more when we started like kind of dipping our toes in the water with like publishing games, not like doing it completely ourselves, but with stuff like the original release of Galgun in Japan, and then like being part of like the Mighty No. 9 Kickstarter, all that kind of stuff. We kind of started to shift things even more, but it was really, I think y'all know, with the other big kind of pivotal moment for Inti Creates was when Azure Striker Gunvolt was released back in 2014 on the 3DS, because that was our very first self-published title.
Yeah. And
that is where really the Inti Creates that now, today, it was kind of born from that, I think.
That was big.
Because and then we've now gone on to Inti Creates as a whole, and I never realized this until I saw his post about it, has developed over 80 games.
That's a lot.
Did you know that?
That's
80.
80 I never thought about it. Yeah, I mean, that's quite a pace, even in 25 years.
Yeah, and I mean, look at it this way. Like,
would be a lot.
Since we started self-publishing back in 2014, you have the Gunvolt series. So you got GV1, GV2, the Mighty Gunvolts, Luminous Avenger X. So that's like what, 5 games?
Yeah.
This right there, and then you have Galgun, Double Peace, Galgun 2, and Returns. It's 4 Galgun games. Or Galgun VR, I'm sorry. Galgun 2, Galgun Double Peace, Galgun VR. It's 4 Galgun games. And you got 2 Curse of the Moon games. You got 2 Blaster Master games. With a 3rd one coming in 2 months. 2 months. DMC 3 comes out. Dragon Mark for Death. I mean, all of this stuff has just been since 2014, since that paradigm shift happened, and I think it's just wild. Like,
that's like
that's what, like 13, 14 games just since 2014.
For sure, I think it's pretty unique for a company of our size to be putting out that many games.
Yeah, because I feel like you have a better grasp of what some like other companies that are like similar to us and sort of like size and scope do. Like, what does that speak to you? Like,
well, I definitely speaking. Even from the outside looking in, like I would have like back then before I joined the company, it's just like, obviously a lot of those games are like might not even have our name on them. Like,
absolutely,
like,
yeah.
That's
I
actually
can
pretty
think of a
common
bunch just
too.
since I've been here, since you've been here, that we've done that do not have our name on it.
We can't even talk about it.
Yeah, right.
But they add up. It adds up a lot. You have companies like that. But I think there are companies that are famous for working behind the scenes on games. Like, probably have a pretty extensive catalog if you knew about it. Like, if you could know about it.
Exactly. That's the thing, right? It's like...
Right. Yeah, but a lot of them don't... they're kind of content to be in that kind of niche of doing that. Sounds like that's kind of what Inti was doing for quite a few years.
Absolutely. I mean, even though we had our name on, like all the Mega Man games we developed and stuff like that, it just isn't the same,
Yeah,
it's different.
Right. So taking that step into like original IPs and like it's a big risk, because like that's not when you sign a contract to make a game, it's like generally going to be a pretty safe
Right.
thing.
Yeah, that's a sure thing, right? Like you know, a company will say, okay, all right, we're going to pay you X amount of money, and you are going to develop this game for us. So then your team works, you develop the game, say, here's the game, okay, here's the money, thank you very much. You're done. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
it's a sure thing.
For sure.
It's a sure thing. Whereas, you know, when you're self-publishing your own game and you are responsible for everything,
it's a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen big success stories, but there's tons more that, you know, haven't gone on to sell, and there's indie companies that spring forward and, you know, close down all the time. You know, so it's truly remarkable, I think, what we have been able to accomplish in making that transition, because it's a scary transition when you go from a sure thing to something that can be so volatile.
Yeah,
you know,
obviously we have not totally given those up, for sure.
Oh no, and I don't think, honestly, I don't think we ever will. No, I mean, Inti Creates, I believe, will always be a. Well, you never know. I mean,
if that
what
big
I
break,
can see,
like that Minecraft money or something, you know.
maybe if GV3 sells like 5 million copies, you know. But
yeah, living for, you know, existing for 25 years is no small feat in this industry.
And what always amazes me is that, you know, the company, and I have had, I mean, this is kind of want to transition into just kind of talking with these guys a little about our experiences being here, because up until really GV1 came out in 2014, you know, Inti Creates, you know, like the super hardcore like Mega Man people knew about us. But outside of that small group, you know, Inti didn't really have much of a presence, especially overseas. Like outside of that one very specific.
Who like saw the name, you know, on the boot screen of Mega Man Zero.
Exactly. I mean, that was me, right? I was a part of that group, right? You know, so like, you know, so I knew who they were and what they did. But so when I joined the company in September of 2014, like, I wasn't the first international hire, believe it or not, but I kind of came into like a, you know, one part of my early role here was really to, and this was one of the most satisfying things I've been able to do here so far, is really just like, it kind of had like a blank canvas, right? You know, because, you know, we as a company did not really have any outward-facing presence, especially for, you know, not Japan, right? Right. You know, we didn't have like native English speakers on staff or other languages too, and so, you know, basically, I had to be, you know, the face and the window to the Western world, the English-speaking world. Right. And it's been such an honor to help bring Inti Creates into all these households that probably would have never heard of them otherwise, and just like really sort of start from the ground up. I mean, when you make such a big shift that we did, you're basically kind of reinventing the company almost, and really sort of, you know, you have to when you're just doing dev for hire, you don't have to worry about stuff like marketing and promotion and getting your name out into the greater gaming populace. So I mean, that's one of the risks of self-publishing, especially when you've never done it before, was, okay, you have to do all this other stuff that you've never had to do before. So I mean, like, you know, just getting to come in here at the ground floor, sort of at that paradigm shift when GV1 came out. You know, it's really been an honor and a privilege to interact with you guys and share everything that Inti Creates has been doing over the past 6.5 years.
Lots of time.
Where the hell does time go? And, you know, getting our games and localizing them in-house too. Like that is something we've been able to do from day one since, you know, since I came in, and getting to bring someone like Andrew on to join us, because you've been here now for coming up on just shy under 4 years now.
Yeah, I think it would be 4 years this month.
Because you came in June of 2017,
pretty much is 4
right?
Years. Yeah.
Time flies, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Pretty much.
Like, you know, yeah, because you came in right after Blaster Master Zero was already out, and we had just, I believe, you came in either right before or right after we put out Mighty Gumball Burst.
I've been right after. So then the first stuff I worked on was the DLC.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's been really crazy, and like, it's ever evolving, you know, like, like kind of like what, I guess if you put it in like a short thing, like what's been your personal experience like being here that you can like kind of like share with them, like kind of like give like, I want to give them the kind of feel like what it's like for us to, you know, because it's we're the duo here, right? You know, doing all of this. So I mean, it's like,
it's definitely interesting. Like my title is localizer, just kind of for lack of a better word for it, because like there's so much other stuff to do. Like,
exactly, like you know, that's
just like we're kind of like, you know, holding up this kind of end of the operation of like making the games out in English, to make sure they're published in English, make sure, you know, if there are going to be physical releases, make sure those get done, just logistics, logistic-wise, publishing-wise, all that. Like it kind of
seriously, like
there's just so much, you know, and it's always a joy to do that stuff, because like, you know, that like it's a lot at the same time, but it's like it's the responsibility that's getting games to people, you know, and like expanding that audience and making sure like people who are really dedicated, like probably everyone watching this stream, like make sure they get the best product on time and everything available.
And there's so many, you know, and I think I can speak for anybody who joins the game industry for the first time, that even if you're a die-hard video game fan, you really have no idea what it truly takes to get a game from concept to on a digital storefront or on a store shelf.
It's eye-opening.
It truly is. It truly is. Like
you get some ideas. You know. Yeah. You have some ideas about it, but then when you see, you know, how the sausage gets made, you're like, I guess that just like, it's more just like kind of like, of course somebody has to do that. Like, you know, of course somebody, you know, that has to be somebody's job.
As just like someone who enjoys video games, you don't really think of that stuff.
No.
I know I never did.
No, you tend not to. Like even as much as you think about it, you might think, somebody's got to program, somebody's got to draw this art, but then like who's got to like, you know, who's got to go in between those people, who's got to, you know, give them their deadlines, who's got to, you know, plan that stuff out in the first place, who, you know, who's writing these words, who's like making sure the people who have the art and the words, like, you know, there's just so much that goes into it.
It really does, and you know, just, you know, it's good. You know, because there's such a, you know, all my attention is firmly like on what goes on outside of Japan, and you know, we're a Japanese company, we do things here, but like just to see the ever-growing number of passionate fans for our work all over the world, not just in English-speaking countries either. Like, I mean, I wish I understood every language that you guys do. I really, truly do. But you know, like, I want to, you know, be like the champion for these people and make sure, like, put our best foot forward to make sure, because it's so easy for, you know, all this cool stuff that just happens here in Japan to never make it. Even in 2021, there's all kinds of cool content that gets produced just for Japan and never, you know, gets sent overseas, even though I'm sure it would do gangbusters. You know? So it really has been, you know, it never gets old.
Yeah.
It really truly never gets old. You know, making sure, doing everything we can to give you guys the best experience possible. And you know, no one gets into game dev because it's easy. But
it's not something you tend to hear.
No, definitely not. But it's worth it. It's truly worth it. And yeah, I mean, you know, I think, you know, Inti Creates has a very bright future. And if I have anything to say about it, that will come true. So
never a dull moment.
Yes, absolutely. So, as those of you who follow us on Twitter know, we're going to shift into the next part of the show. As those who follow us on Twitter and Facebook know, I put out a question for you guys because I wanted to dedicate this and kind of like channeling, sort of like a convention panel type experience. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute since we've done that.
That's true.
I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to ask us those burning Inti Creates questions that you may have had for years. And I know we do kind of like light Q&A sometimes on the stream, but I really wanted to give you guys time to think of the good stuff and send that in to us. And you guys sent us a bunch of great questions. I had a little bit of a technical hiccup. I had them all ready to go on my laptop, and then my laptop decided to just eat all of those for breakfast.
Yeah.
And so please forgive me. I have my phone out so I can see your questions. I promise you I'm not doing anything silly. Yet. So
playing games.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm just going to go through, and it's not just us here too. He's been quiet this whole time.
Yeah.
He's been quiet this whole time. But joining us to help us answer some of your burning Inti Creates questions, the man behind the camera, our amazing CEO, Mr. Takuya Aizu, is here as well, on mic. So if we need him, we'll call for him. So if you hear a voice with no face,
yeah,
that's where it's coming from.
Hello.
There he is. All right, so I'll just get right into it so we can answer as many of your questions as we possibly can. This one is from, most of these are from Twitter. This one's from user ZBs. And it says, ever thought about making a fighting game featuring characters from various series you worked on?
That's a strong idea.
That's a very strong idea. Now, of course, Gunvolt, of course, has made his fighting game debut.
Multiple times.
Yes. You have stuff like, getting, Gunvolt and like Blade Strangers, for example. So Gunvolt has made his appearance in a fighting game, but Inti Creates fighting game. どうですかね? Inti Creates キャラクターが登場している格闘ゲーム。どうかね?
インティクレイツのキャラクターが登場してる格闘ゲームですか？
そうインティが開発するインティキャラの登場する格闘ゲームが考えたことありますかって。
もちろん考えたことはあるんですけど、格闘ゲームってね、もうだいぶ格闘ゲームをすごく愛してる人たちによって複雑なシステムになってるんですね。
そうね。
だから、作るんだったらすごくシンプルなシステムで作ろうっていうことで前に一回企画したことありますよ。だけどやっぱりね、格闘ゲーム難しいね。自分たちが納得できるものが作れないとね、やっぱりお客さんに届けることできないんで、企画はあったけどまだ今のところはプロジェクトは動いてないです。
Yeah, so it turns out we've actually thought about this before, and when it comes to fighting games, as you may know who've ever played a popular fighting game, they're very complex and complicated. And for a bunch of people who make 2D side-scrolling action games, it's not necessarily in our wheelhouse per se. So it has been thought about. Plans have been drafted to do such a thing, but it would be much more probably simple than I'd say your average fighting game fan is used to.
Probably closer to a Smash Brothers than
so that's never really got off the cutting room floor, but it has been thought about. It has indeed been thought about.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of plans that get made and never see the light of day, unfortunately. But that's part of making games. It's like coming up with those ideas and making the hard decisions when they're not working out.
Exactly. We got this next one from Annie Art Shop. Will you guys bring Galgun Double Peace to the Nintendo Switch? That would give us the entire trilogy. I've actually been hearing this a lot. Yeah, basically ever since we released Galgun Returns on Switch, I've been hearing this a lot. And, anything's possible. Anything's possible. But kind of what you're doing is really helpful. Like, if you want to see something, like, letting that company know is honestly the best way to communicate that. If we have legions of people saying, we want the thing, that really helps us determine, like, what fans are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, people notice.
Yeah, so, I can't confirm or deny anything for you right now, but, what you're doing does help. Just in general, help any game company understand what their fans are looking for.
Yeah.
This one is from The Friendly Dragon. It says, Hitoshi Ariga, maker of the Mega Man Megamix and Gigamix manga, has expressed interest in the possibility of making a Gunvolt manga.
Ooh.
Is Inti aware of this? And if so, are they open to the idea? I mean, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, have you ever read those mangas?
Yes, I have.
Really?
I have. They're super cool.
Oh, really?
And Ariga-san is an amazing manga artist. He's done some really cool art too. If you've ever seen, he's even done stuff for like some like American like indie stuff, like the Shovel Knight LPs, like the records.
Okay.
He did the art for those, and they're really sick. Like,
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That's interesting. I mean, that, you know, that sounds like it could work.
有賀仁さんっていう漫画家の人がGV の漫画に作る興味があるらしくて、それがインティがそれをご存知ですかと、それなんとかなれそうですかっていうことです。
有賀さんは非常に仲良くしていただいている漫画家さんです。まあ彼はオリジナルのメガマンの漫画を描いてたわけですから、まあ多分リップサービスで言ってくれてるんじゃないかなと思いますけど、そう言ってもらえるのはありがたいです。でもね、インティクレイスのゲームって沖野真っていう方に、漫画を4コマ漫画描いてもらったり、ロックマン X の漫画をですね、コロコロコミックで掲載したりした時に、荻野真さんっていう漫画家さんに頼んでいるので、荻野真さんが描いた4コマ漫画は存在してるんですよね。そういう感じで、まあ一応漫画の方も興味はあります。有賀さんがそう言ってくれるのはありがたいことです。
そうですね。まあ英訳しないといけないね。いつか。Yeah, so Aiji-san knows Mr. Ariga very well. He's a very swell dude, and he's like, I appreciate him saying that. I'm sure that was probably just some some lip service, but in some capacity, a Gunvolt manga does exist. This was again one of those unfortunate things that it was kind of only was released in Japan. But there were some 4-panel Gunvolt comics that were produced in some gaming magazines here a few years back.
That's interesting. That's my
by
first
a guy
time
named Shin Ogino, who actually did there's a Mega Man ZX manga that came out here in Japan, and he was actually the guy who did the art for that Mega Man ZX manga.
That's
and
cool.
So he came and then did a bunch of he did the art for the GV 4-panel manga. So technically it does exist. Technically speaking. Oh,
Yeah,
this one's short and sweet. This is from Akira Light 00. Anything with gun hammer and gun bike.
Gun hammer, huh?
So, for those of you who don't know who or what Gunhammer is, Gunhammer is... I was laughing over there. Gunhammer is my first and probably only good Inti Creates April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
I think, God, that was what, 2015? 2016? Something like that. I just put out like a thing on our blog. It's like, Crimson Smasher Gunhammer coming to Virtual Boy and Atari Lynx, But Watanabe-san, one of the artists here at the company, I gave him an idea. I'm like, hey, Crimson Smasher Gunhammer. Go forth.
That was it. That was the only.
That's all I gave him, and he put this together. If you look for Gunhammer on the internet or on Twitter or somewhere, you'll find the art. It's awesome. He's actually pretty cool, and there's unfortunately no Gunhammer game in the works besides the Lynx and Virtual Boy release date TBD. Maybe somehow someday. Little Gunhammer could maybe find his way into,
he'll be like in the
into this world. Yeah.
He'll be in the background of the fighting game.
Doing the smashing.
Yeah,
doing the smashing
away.
Okay, next one. This game's from the Derp Squadron. Awesome name. What are y'all's favorite games?
That's just
short
like
and sweet.
that.
Short and sweet, just like that. What are y'all's favorite games? What do you got, Andrew Singleton? Advisor Inti Creates.
Old Standby, God Hand. I still can't ever get away from that.
Still stand the hand.
There, still boot that up every once in a while. On the PS3, even on the digital version, just like punch some fools.
Just punch some fools.
It's so
I love
satisfying.
it. I love it.
You know, just no one can stand the power of the God Hand.
Nope.
Just uppercut them into the sky and do a few kicks until they just fly into space and become a gleam.
Like a Team Rocket is blasting off
oh,
again
yeah,
type thing.
That is a move you do in the game. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
Dragon kick them into the Milky Way as it goes.
Oh, well, for me, mine's easy. Mine has not changed since the PS1 era. My top 3 go as follows. Number 3 is Mario RPG. Number 2 is Final Fantasy Tactics, and number 1 is Mega Man 2.
Nice.
This has not changed
Those are
in
classic.
20 years. あゆさんどう思いますか？自分の一番好きなゲームは何ですかって。
それは自分が作ったゲームの中でですか？
何でも。
ああ、なるほど。まあでも自分が一番作ったゲームの中で一番好きなのは、まあでも全部含めてもロックマンジョン3かな。一番好きですね。
じゃあ、
はい、
自分の作品じゃないもの？
自分の作品じゃないもの？自分の作品じゃないものだと、アメリカで売ってないかもしれないけど、ガイア幻想機っていうゲームがあるんですけど、クイーンテッドっていうのがわかんないですよね。
ガイア幻想機。それ何のハードに入れたんですか？
スーパーファミコンですね。はい。
Well,
ガイア幻想機が大好き。
So here's your research.
イースを作った人が作ったゲームですね。
So there is a game called Gaia Gensoki that probably only came out in Japan for the Super Famicom / Super
Isn't
Nintendo.
that Illusion of Gaia?
Is that Illusion of Gaia?
I don't, you know.
That
Just
sounds like
hearing
Illusion of
the name,
Gaia.
Hearing the name. I actually
That actually
don't know
sounds
the-
like Illusion
yeah,
of Gaia.
Yeah.
That does. That does.
Maybe somebody can look that up.
Super Nintendo, created by the same person who did the Ys series.
Yeah, so it is Illusion of Gaia.
That
Yeah,
is Illusion of Gaia.
I played that. Wow,
あ、
that's
やっぱアメリカに出てたんですよ。Illusion of Gaia っていうタイトルがあるんです。
なるほど、なるほど。出てたならよかった。
そう、すごい昔やってた。自分が。
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, I
Illusion of
played
Gaia,
that. I
okay.
remember playing that
Good stuff. And
forever
but he
ago.
said his favorite
That's
indie
interesting.
creation, though, is Mega Man 03.
Yeah, yes.
Which, absolutely,
That's a banger.
phenomenal game.
That's a banger.
That is a banger and a half. Good taste, Aizu-san.
Oh,
Good taste.
That's it.
I like this one a lot. This is from 112, and it says, "What is one of the most memorable moments the team had while developing a game, and why is it so memorable?"
For me?
Yeah, sure. What do you got? What do you got?
Surprising.
Memorable moments. Moments.
Definitely some tight deadlines that were pretty memorable.
Oh yeah, tight deadlines are definitely ones that stick out to me.
Yeah,
I got
like,
a couple, but I'll stick it with just one.
Probably like one of the times I remember quite vividly is like, I guess it was while we were developing Galgun VR and like I tried it for the first time. I had not.
Yes, I remember this vividly.
Put on a VR headset.
I remember this vividly.
Yeah, I had not used VR at all before then, and like that was my first time playing it. Just like testing it out a little bit, and just like it was freaky. It freaked me out.
My man was in his own world. I was sitting 5 feet away watching this the whole time.
It's like, is this a horror game? It's just like, you know, just like because they come up so close to you, you know, like because they'll run up to you,
like,
and just like
I've never seen such a genuine reaction to somebody playing VR. You're just like, oh, holy
just
crap!
Like little
oh
stuff,
my
like
God.
you know,
like it was amazing.
Yeah, it's like imagine that, you know, people who try the plank game and you walk on the plank and get really scared. It's like that except for personal space, you know? Like when you're not used to it being an illusion and someone just like runs up to you and they're like, boom, right in your face.
Yeah.
You're just like, whoa, what's going on?
No, that was amazing. I love that. I love that story so much.
Yeah, just sitting in the office or standing, I guess, and just like having that, you know, I don't remember how many people were watching. It was like,
There's a couple of us. There's a couple of us, yeah.
I'm sure that would have been funny. It was like pretty freaky for me.
For me, mine is also Galgun related too. I'll get 1.5 for you. The night before Galgun Double Piece Master ROM submission. This was the last chance to fix anything. Because that was the next morning that was getting sent out.
Yeah.
So like this was like 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. Like gonna make these we got 2 hours left. Gonna make the ROM, send it off the next morning.
Yep.
Done. Right. I am sitting there play testing double piece, and I get to the final Doki Doki mode. And somehow I don't know how I missed this up until that point. But for those of you who have played Galgun Double Piece or 2 or any of them, you probably know when you get to final Doki Doki mode, you move the cursor around on the character, and if you move it here, it's like, you know, shoulder, nose, eyes. It says like what part of the body that your cursor's on. There's a word in Japanese called koshi. Now, koshi can mean a couple things depending on the context. It can mean your hips. It can mean like your lower back, like right down here. I learned that word when I messed up my lower back at E3. That's a whole nother story. But I learned what koshi was that day. So because of that, my understanding of the word koshi was lower back. So I figured that the cursor would just be like, you know, right down here, right?
And it easily could have been.
Yeah, easily could have been. It wasn't. I don't know how I missed this or how this was missed, but last night it was like 9:30 at night, and I'm going through Doki Doki mode, and I put the cursor like right here. This is lower back. And I'm just like, oh no,
a swing and a miss.
Oh no, oh no, and you know that's how you learn language, folks. Is you learn that sometimes words have multiple meanings. So could you imagine, just for a second, you work all the way to get to final Doki Doki mode with your favorite Galgun girl, and you move your thing around, and you're gonna target them hips, lower back.
Literally as wrong as you can be.
So the main programmer who was in charge of like making those edits had already left for the night. We called him back in because I would not let this stand. They were like, "Could you like make?" Like,
they were like,
like we're about to make this ramen like an hour. Like we just like
past the finish line.
And I'm just like, no,
That's like,
no, this cannot stand. And I'm like sweating, and he literally comes back into the office just to fix that. And then the ramen was set off the next day.
Yeah, we don't want to put that on it.
No, you do not. You do not.
So sorry.
You do not. You do not. But thank goodness I caught it.
Yeah,
but,
no,
like,
gosh.
my goodness.
You had...
Never a dull moment with game dev or bug testing. Never a dull moment. And probably the other one was also Galgun related, is when we did a Galgun promotional event at a boat racing place in Tokyo. That's on the Inti blog. If you look on the Inti blog, you can see pictures of that. There's the most bizarre combination of things ever. We won like 2,000 yen that day though. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, they gave us like free like betting tickets for the boat racing. We actually won like 2,000 yen, like, which is like $20 US. And just seeing Shinobu's VA dress up in like a boat racing suit, because you do.
Boat racing suit. I don't know. You might have to look that one up to see what that could possibly be.
Oh no, it's on the Inti blog. It's on the Inti blog. Yeah, if you oh, this one for Isaac.
Boat racing suit.
Okay, this is from the Mikemian. It says, "I love to know the inspiration behind the company name Inti Creates." I actually don't know this.
Yeah. No.
はい、アイズさんしか答えられないものです。どうして会社名がインティクレイツですか？そういうなんか意味ありますかって。
インティクレイツはですね、インティクレイツを創設する時のメンバーは11人だったんですけど、実はインティクレイツ作る前で16人か17人ぐらいのメンバーで作ろうとしてたんです。その時に全員集まって会社の名前を投票しました。その時に決まったのがインティクレイツなんですけど、これはサウンドプロデューサーの一方山田が考えた名前で、インタラクティブイメージズの頭、インタラクティブイメージクリエイツということでインティというアイデンティとインタラクティブの、イメージの愛を取ってインティということだというふうに一方山田に説明を受けました。
See, we're learning stuff today too. So when Inti Creates, before Inti Creates was officially founded, there was actually about 16 or 17 people who were going to potentially be involved with it. It ended up being 11, but at the time there was like 16 or 17. And the name Inti Creates was chosen amongst others, and basically they voted amongst themselves to decide the name. The name Inti Creates was proposed by our sound producer, Mr. Ippo Yamada, right over there in the next room. Inti Creates stands for Interactive Image Creates. It's like the INT, it's like interactive, I, image, and then creates. And that's the name that was voted on by the group, and that's how Inti Creates is born. I did not know that.
ちなみに、アイズさんの投票した名前は何ですか？インティクレイツですか？
いや、私は別の名前を、自分で考えて出してましたけど、 確か3対2で3票でインティクレイツが1番で、私が出したのは2番目だったと思います。2票だったと思うので、はい、まあその名前は内緒です。
So he won't tell us what it is, but he actually then he came up with his own name for the company that ended up taking second place in the group voting. But we will never know what that name is.
It's a secret.
It's probably something really.
I'm very curious.
Really good. めちゃ気になるけど、はい、続きます。
What could have been?
Could have been. Only Aizu-san knows. Only Aizu-san knows. あ、多分Aizu-sanしか答えられないやつです。Could you? This one's from Inti References, and this one says, "Could you share some details on the in-house game engine you use for most of your games now, such as its name and history?" Which again, I also am not too familiar with. こっちもAizu-san向けなんですけど、インティの、ゲーム開発エンジンなんですけど、はい、そのなんかちょっとそのエンジンが名前があるかどうかと、はい、ちょっとまあちょっと軽くの歴史をちょっと教えてくれませんかって。
ですね、インティクレイツのエンジンは、一番最初にプレイステーション1向けに作ったエンジンなんですね。それでプレイステーション2に対応したり、ワンダースワンに対応したり、ゲームボーイアドバンスに対応したり、ニンテンドー DS に対応したりとしたのが一番最初の世代のエンジンです。これが ICE、インティクリエイトエンジン、ICE って呼ばれてましたけど、ICE というエンジンですね。これは、ガンボルトの1まで使われてます。一回翻訳してください。
So yeah, so there's actually the first iteration of our engine was actually created to work with PS1 games.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, it was kind of added new systems to the lineup of systems it could work with. You added PS2, WonderSwan, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and we actually used this first iteration of the engine up until Azure Striker Gunvolt. And this one was called Inti Creates Engine, aka ICE.
Love that. That's good.
Oh, that's great. That's good.
はい。そのアイス、そうだ。一番最後に出たエンジンはすごく昔から開発してるドラゴンマックス4ですまではアイスですね。まあただその前に新エンジンのゲームはリリースされてるんですけど、ドラゴンマックス4です10年ぐらい開発してるので、一番最後に出たアイスのゲームはドラゴンマックス4ですです。あとはそうですね。X の1も、アイスですし、そうですね。この辺は全部アイスで、その次のエンジンは、初めて出たのがマイティガンボルトバーストから、第2世代目のエンジンになっていて、それが、インペリアルエンジンって言ってですね、インペリアルエンジンっていうエンジンに変わってます。マイティガンボルトバーストから。インペリアルエンジンを搭載している、ゲームとしては、あれですね、他にはカーフ・オブ・ザ・ムーン2とか、あとは今 GV3 もインペリアルエンジンで開発してますし、ギャルガン、最近出た、ギャルガンの、リターンズがね、もうインペリアルエンジンになってます。
Okay, yeah, so actually some even modern titles like GB1, Luminous Adventure X were actually used on the original ICE system. And then when the second iteration of the system came out called the Imperial Engine, the debut game for that was Mighty Gunvolt Burst. And then we've been using that one ever since and have gone on to use that for other games like Curse of the Moon 2, GV3 is being developed in the Imperial Engine. And even like 3D stuff like Galgun Returns.
Yeah, that was a big surprise.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was just purely 2D.
Oh, yeah. I knew like when we started that was going to be that. Yeah. So I was like, that's just like hearing because I knew the Imperial engine ever since. Like that's the one I knew we used. My first time hearing about the ICE engine actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
I knew we had an older engine, but I didn't know what it was called or like, kind of where it was up until.
But yeah, that Imperial engine's been powered up quite a bit.
Yes, it has.
Mighty Gunvolt
the
Burst,
team has been working hard. Yeah, Mighty Gunvolt Burst to to Galgun Returns and GV3 and who knows what else.
Yeah, right.
So. So amongst the employees, they refer to Imperial Engine as Impe-kun, which I think is just absolutely wonderful.
そちらはなぜインペリアルエンジンって言うんですか？
インティクリエイツってさっき言った通りインタラクティブイメージなんですけど、昔ちょっと冗談でインティっていうのを印鑑の印に帝っていう、要するにエンペラー要するにマークエンペラーですよね。印鑑の印に帝、マークエンペラーっていうそのなんていうんですかね、漢字、印鑑の印に帝っていう漢字で、印帝って書いた冗談のものがあって、なのでその帝インペリエンペラーですね、エンペラーマークエンペラーのエンペラーでエンペラーっていうのがちょっとあって、それでインペリアルエンジンっていう名前になったんだと思います。
結構ディープな。
Yeah, so I don't even know how I would explain this properly, but it's like,
it's a Japanese pun.
Yeah, it's basically a Japanese pun. Like,
ガンボルトの1のゾンザのステージの中にインテっていう看板がありますね。感じで。
Yeah, so basically they use kind of like a play on words using like the inti for like the Japanese characters like inti and kind of and they made like what's called the hanko, which is kind of like a seal that you use to like sign documents here in Japan. They kind of basically played around with some kanji and used like the kanji for like emperor or like imperial, and like it all kind of ties together in like a very punny like it's like basically a classic intercompany Inti Creates meme pretty much. Is the best way I can describe it, but apparently in Zonda's stage in GV1 there's a sign in the stage that uses that exact kanji.
Yeah, so go find that.
Yeah, go find that.
I want to go find that.
Track it down, GV sleuths. Track it down. Some of you probably even know exactly where it is. Would not be surprised even a little bit. All right, so continuing on, this one is from Saturn's Ring 98. It says, I love the lore in Gunvolt and its side media like the CDs and Fleeting Memories. And I wanted to ask what goes into writing your stories and what are your biggest inspirations? Any favorite characters you have worked on? And any chance you can get merch here in Canada, I would love to give you merch in Canada and everywhere else in the world. Maybe once Corona's over and things return to normal. The only way we've been able to get a lot of our merch available to people outside Japan is through events. We're selling a lot of our Japan exclusive merch at events. Then Rona happened and we haven't been able to do that for a while. No, we received a lot of demand for that sort of thing, and I would love to make that work. Logistically, it's very difficult, especially for a small operation like us, but in my heart, I want to do that. Could I promise that? Unfortunately not. But yeah, the Gunvolt series obviously has like a lot of lore and stuff like that, and Fleeting Memories. For those of you who don't know, it's like basically like a Gunvolt side story. That was one of kind of the first translation projects I ever took on when I started here. It was just a side story written by Toshiaki Tai, the guy who does the scenario and stuff for the Gunvolt series, and that's actually available still to this day on the Indie Creates website. You can read the whole thing, and probably if I looked back on it, would want to cry. Translation quality, but yeah, it's all there. It is all there. A lot of our stories, we have dedicated staff here who really kind of take over the brunt of sort of like the scenario writing. There's like a couple people. If you look through our credits, you'll see some very familiar suspects who write our games, and they do a fantastic job. So we don't necessarily get to write them so much as we get to localize them.
Right, of course.
But
there's writing involved in.
No, absolutely. But yeah, so it's not creating it from scratch per se, but it is and it isn't. It's creating it from scratch in another language, but you have a nice thing to work with, which is actually kind of nice. I do like that. I don't know, any particular characters you've enjoyed I guess for us to be localizing, but
yeah. So hopefully it's okay to talk about it. I think it's not. It's out there that Gunvolt, like not Gunvolt, sorry. a Blaster Master in the trilogy is going to have voices, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing, like, you know, there's a particular character in Blaster Master 2, a certain plant girl, Kana, who has a very particular way of speaking.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
Yeah, and like trying to decide what to do about that voice when it's just written out, it's like, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna try my best to like try to adapt this kind of voice to English. Like she's got Japanese puns, she's got all these mannerisms and everything, and like, just like, you know, end of the day, you're never really sure, like, you know, could I have done that better or not? But then now that she has a voice and like, I've now heard what, you know, kind of because when it's written out, it's one thing, but like, so for like, say for Galgun, for example, we can hear the voices.
That changes how you write a character a lot.
Right, and so you'll get to hear those at least some point before you put the product out. But now, in this case, she got a voice after. We had already decided on her voice, and so like,
yep.
But like hearing that for the first time, I was like, I think we nailed this.
Oh no, I think we did too. I think we
absolutely. Just like that kind of relief is like, oh wow, this actually worked really well.
That's like, as a localizer, that's the scariest thing. That is the scariest thing.
I was a little worried.
It's like when you write for a character who doesn't have a voice, it gives you a bit more flexibility into what you can do. Like when we redid the Gunvolt script, that was my first full game localization task, and what made that challenging in a good way, but so what made it challenging was going from something that when it first came out the English script didn't have a voice to match up with it.
Yeah.
So you have the team who originally did that translation, you have a lot of flexibility for what you can do, but when you put a voice to it. It changes the whole game. It changes the whole game. So, you have to work with the voices. And like, it can completely, you may have an idea in your head of what this character may sound like.
Yeah.
And then you get to the voice and you're like, either like, oh yeah, we were like, we were spot on, or back to the drawing board. It can be pretty jarring. So, yeah, that's keeps us localizers on our toes, for sure. For sure. Oh man, time flies.
Yeah, we're counting down here.
Flies. All right, I had a whole bunch of here we go. This one's I can answer this one pretty quickly. This one's from Chromakaze. This says, is there a possibility of releasing an English translation of the Gunvolt Complete Works art book? Additionally, will there be an art book release for Luminous Avenger X? Maybe. For Luminous Avenger X, there's only one game. So, if there's, more in the series and maybe there's more. It's hard to make a full art book for just one game. So, that's why, when the GV stuff came out, it was for multiple games.
Right.
So that kind of helps if you want to make like an art book for something. So, X, who knows? As for the possibility of a translation, again, I don't want to ever say flat out no, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Maybe if we get like
I think probably in that case, just my intuition would be that we could probably localize it. Like if we're going to print it, but I think that printing it,
that's a whole other story too. That's a whole other story
too. The kind of demand that it might have. I think that might actually be the barrier.
Yeah, there's multiple barriers for sure. Okay, let's see.
Hopefully you can enjoy the art in the Japanese version that we have sold at events and sell in Japan. And I think people have maybe. I think you can get them on Amazon.
If you want the art, it's there. It's there. This was a fun question, and this is a bit of a deep cut unless you're like a hardcore fan. This was from Kiwi Kamikaze. This says, I've been wondering for a while, but how did Hiroki Miyazawa-san gain the name of Meijin? So, and he's been on stream with us before. Miyazawa-san, of course, he is the director of the Curse of the Moon series. He goes by the name Miyazawa Meijin. Meijin is kind of like a name given to those, I guess, are like exemplary in their role, as you could say.
That's funny.
Like master, type of deal.
When I first heard people refer to him like that, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that
it's
makes
like
sense.
that checks out. Yeah, that checks out.
Never questioned it. It's like,
yeah.
Okay, I see why you'd say that.
Well, let's ask the man who knows the answer to that.
Yeah.
どうして宮沢弘樹さんが名人っていうタイトルがつけましたかっていう。
そうですね。日本のちょっと昔の歴史の話なんですけど、例えばハドソンの、名人として高橋名人っていう名人がいたんですね。で、あとバンダイの名人で橋本名人っていう名人がいて、それぞれメーカーにいながら自分のメーカーのゲームをすごく素晴らしい超絶プレーをしてお客さんにアピールする名人がいたんです。で、そういう名人をオマージュして、インディクレーツで一番ゲームがうまい宮沢君を宮沢名人っていう名前で、デビューしたっていうことです。
Yeah, so it's kind of like this. Kind of goes. It's kind of like a tradition amongst like Japanese game companies when you have somebody within the company who's like particularly good at your own games and showcasing that to people. Like other companies in the past have done it. Like Hudson had like Takahashi Meijin, who is like kind of like the most famous example of that. Yeah, who's kind of like, if you know like the Adventure Island series, he's kind of like that guy. He's like the guy that based off that.
16 shot.
Like Bandai Namco had another guy, Hashimoto Meijin, I believe his name was. There's been other companies who had like someone Meijin, like so. It's basically like an homage to that. And if we're gonna talk about people who can kick our own game's asses, that would be Mr. Miyazawa-san for sure.
If not him play, maybe you can find some videos of that.
There actually are some on the Inti. If you dig deep into the Inti YouTube archive, there are some gameplay videos. There are some gameplay videos of Miyazawa-san like absolutely decimating Gunvolt 1. If you want to see, that, jeez, I'm running out of time here. This one's from Bogart567, and there are plans to release GV and other tracks on Spotify. I would love to do that. I have planned to do that in the past. Hopefully, we can. I have every intention on getting our games on, or getting our game soundtracks on digital streaming platforms. Nothing I can promise right now, but that's definitely something I would love to do. Definitely something I would love to do. And oh my goodness, can we squeeze in one more? Squeeze in one more? Oh, it is. Never mind. Okay, it is 1 o'clock on the dot now. Okay. Well. Unfortunately, we are out of time for this stream, but I seriously want to thank each and every one of you for hanging out with us today, hanging out with us whenever we do our Hanging at Inti HQ live streams, and most importantly, for supporting Inti Creates. You know, being a fan of our games, buying our games, talking about our games, sharing the love for our games, and almost knocking your phone off the table. It really means the world to us, and without your support, things would be different.
Absolutely.
To put it lightly. So, thank you once again for being awesome fans, for being awesome people. As for the next stream, we actually don't have a date for it yet because we got some busy stuff going on in the month of May here at Inti Creates. But as soon as we have a date for the next stream, I will let y'all know on social media. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. In the meantime, we're going to get back to that grindstone.
Yes, sir.
We got Blaster Master CO3 coming up soon, folks. July 29th.
We'll be there before you know it.
2.5 months. It's creeping up. Let's get ready. Because is it awesome? I think it's awesome.
Oh, yes.
I know you're doing some
awesome.
stuff.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, again, that's going to do it for the stream. Thank you so much for celebrating 25 years of Inti Creates with us. And we will see you, of course, on the Inti Creates Twitter, Facebook, and wherever else Inti Creates is sold. I got nothing.
Your local
Take care, guys, and have an awesome day, and be safe out there. We'll see you next time.
Take it easy.
Bye.